Hi, I'm here to talk about person-centered planning and what a successful facilitation might look like. I'm hoping to demystify person-centered planning for you or your loved one. Why are we here talking about person-centered planning? Well, transitions are hard, especially without some kind of roadmap. You are watching this because you might be experiencing, or a family member of yours might be experiencing, that transition from school to adulthood, or maybe moving out of the family home for the first time, or some other large life change. Having some plans in place to help with that is going to be incredibly advantageous. The person-centered planning process really helps look at the individual in a different way. We are going to approach the process in a much more personalized, what does this individual need kind of focus. The whole point of person-centered planning is to assist the focused person in gaining control over their own life with the help of the people around them. And the reason is inclusion. We want folks to get out and participate in their community, build social capital, and otherwise create a full life, whether that's finding a job, volunteering, or just more friends out in the community. Our process recognizes desires, interests, and dreams of the individual, and we then discuss them in reference to their strengths and gifts in order to identify supports, both formal and informal, that might be needed for the individual that we're planning for to lead a full life. So what is person-centered planning anyway? It was developed in the 1980s by a group of professionals who supported individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities as a way to break away from the medical model of service that really spoke to people needing to be fixed, as opposed to identifying their strengths and coming up with individualized strategies for support for that person to be happy, healthy, and live a full life. Person-centered planning is an accessible, graphic-facilitated discussion that uses speech, text, and graphics to express ideas and feelings so that everyone involved with the planning can understand and access that information, especially the individual we're planning for. There are a variety of different styles of person-centered planning, including MAPS, PATH, essential lifestyle planning, personal futures planning, and more. There are essential elements of a person-centered plan. First is understanding the history and the present of the individual. We have to know where we are and where we have been in order to inform the future and what we're going to plan for. That is, of course, the next step, envisioning possible futures. What are the things that we want to see and that this individual would like to do and experience in the future? Next, we look at their strengths, gifts, and capacities. Strengths are those things that they've learned over time and can get better at by practicing and growing. Gifts are those inherent God-given talents that they were born with. And capacity, of course, is a measure of where they are now and where they might be in the future. The next step is to look at the challenges and barriers, or the things that do and do not work for this individual. And those can be systemic, or they can be very specific to that person. Then, with all that in mind, together we set goals. We look at all of the individual things that we're trying to accomplish and the action steps that it takes to achieve those. And then we assign individuals from the team, including the focus individual, to each of those action steps in order to have accountability and follow up in the future. The final step is to do it. This is the first step in a journey of independence and a full life for the individual we're planning for. As I mentioned, there are multiple different styles of person-centered plan. The one we use has 5 individual steps. First is an initial meeting to collect the history of the individual we're planning for. We need to collect and find out more about the places and experiences that this person has been and had and where they are currently. We're going to have that meeting somewhere very comfortable, like in their home, and it's going to be very informal. We'll collect some information, we'll record it, but overall it's really just meant to be a conversation. A big part of that conversation is the second step, which is deciding who should attend the planning meeting. It really needs to be a team who's going to be dedicated to working to accomplish this plan as it gets completed. The individual should consider their family members, friends, co-workers, or people they might volunteer with, teachers, or other important people in their life, clergy, counselors, etc. The real key is these are people who are going to be cheerleaders for them and have insight about them to be able to provide another point of view for our plan. Third is the meeting itself. It's usually about 1 to 2 hours, depending on what the individuals involved are up for. We can always split it into multiple sessions if we need to. We want it to be comfortable, so we might do it in their home, or if they'd prefer, we can do it in like our agency, or a neutral location is really great, like a library. We really try to involve snacks or food. That helps bring the party atmosphere because we're really celebrating this individual. And so we want to have that fun, collaborative atmosphere that comes from food and sharing time together. The fourth step is sharing the plan. Your facilitator is going to put together a plan in a format that the individual will appreciate and that they can access, but will be duplicatable and will be shareable, so they can be proud and show it to the individuals in their lives that weren't involved, and then they can also take it and show it to new folks who are going to be supporting them or are going to be otherwise in their life. The final and possibly most important step is follow-up. A plan can sit on a shelf, like I mentioned, if you don't actually do something with it. And so because part of our process is assigning individuals to each action step, it's really important to follow up on those and make sure that they are being accomplished. That actually can be part of the iterative process of person-centered planning, because those goals get accomplished, those action steps get completed, or we need to look at a goal in a different way. That's when it's time to do a new person-centered plan potentially. When should your person-centered plan take place? You're probably watching this because you or someone you love is going through a transition, specifically the transition out of high school into adulthood, and that is a really uncertain time. Person-centered planning can help set that roadmap, give a game plan or a strategy for what to do. It's best done before transition services are determined, but really can be done anytime through someone's life when changes are going to happen. Those transition services specifically can be informed by the person-centered plan to have a strategy in place for caseworkers and educators to follow so that this person can determine their own future and what their full life will look like. So what do we need for a person-centered plan to be successful? At the end, there will be a clear and shared appreciation of the talents and capacities of the individual. We want the group to be kind of on the same page and in alignment. Similarly, there'll be a common understanding of what the individual wants. It's easy for a group to get off track and really think about what the group dynamic needs as opposed to really focusing on the individual. We're also going to need an agreement to regularly review the activities that are listed in the action steps and do that follow-up and accountability together so that the support of this individual that we've agreed upon is there. To be successful, the group needs to include strong advocates and family members to assure that the interests of the focused person stay at the forefront. The group includes a person committed to making connections in the local community. One of the main reasons that person-centered planning was created and why we continue to do it is because being out in the community is the key way to fight loneliness and isolation, and that's really what everybody needs. And so whether that means getting out to a job or a volunteer opportunity or just socialization and building social capital with new friends, it's really key that part of our plan involves being out in the community. If I've done my job well, your interest is piqued and now you want to look into person-centered planning. So how do you do that? A great resource to start with is informingfamilies.org. It's a website here in Washington State with lots of information about lots of our support services, but it has a great section on person-centered planning, and all of it would really benefit anyone. If you're gung-ho and you're ready to sign up for a person-centered plan, one of the places to start is with your Developmental Disabilities Administration case manager. That person can help you get in contact with providers and set you up on the fast track to getting a person-centered plan. If you're still trying to figure out how all this might work, you can always start with a school or a service provider like the ARC and ask them about person-centered planning. If you'd like to reach out to us directly and get a little bit more information, you can email programs@arc-spokane.org. Thank you.